For almost 50 years, Wilmington, Delaware has had one of the most tangled up, confusing public school maps you can imagine. Seriously, it's a system that was born from old court orders, and it's left families and educators just trying to figure out a logistical maze. Well, that is all about to change. A single, huge vote is on the horizon, and it's set to completely redraw the future for thousands of students. Go ahead and circle this date on your calendar, December 16th, 2025. This is the day a decision that's been half a century in the making will finally be made. This is so much more than just another meeting. It's the moment a complete overhaul of the city's public education system really gets put into motion. So there's a group established by the state called the Reading Consortium, and they're holding a final vote to pick one single new school district map for all of Wilmington. This one decision is going to directly impact the lives of over 11,000 students and really reshape the community for generations. And that's the big question, right? Why go through all this trouble? To really get why they're taking such a massive step, you first have to understand the incredibly fractured system they're trying to fix. It really is a puzzle. Okay, so this whole puzzle got its start way back in the 1970s. Federal desegregation orders carved up the county into these 4 pie wedge districts. The idea was that each one would take a slice of the city and a slice of the suburbs to create racial balance. But what it ended up doing was creating a permanent, confusing partition of Wilmington itself. So here's the bottom line today. You've got one city with neighborhoods right next to each other where kids are sent to 4 completely separate school systems, and each of those has its own school board, its own administration. I mean, can you just imagine the confusion? There's no unified vision for the city's kids. If you want a perfect example of just how bizarre this gets, look no further than what's known as the Christina Island. You have schools right in downtown Wilmington, but they actually belong to a district whose main office and high schools are miles and miles away in Newark. It just makes absolutely zero logistical sense. And look, this isn't just some abstract problem on a map. The consequences are very real. We're talking about students with bus rides that are up to 15 miles long. You've got Wilmington parents who are a minority in these big suburban-dominated districts, so their voices just get lost in school board elections. The system, just by its design, creates inequity. So, after years of study and debate, the Reading Consortium has managed to boil everything down to 3 possible ways forward. And on December 16th, they're going to vote to recommend one of these plans to the state. Okay, so the options are pretty different. First up is the metropolitan model, which would create one big district focused on Wilmington and its closest suburbs. Then there's the split model, which just divides the city between 2 existing districts, Brandywine and Red Clay. And finally, you have the consolidated model. This one merges all 4 districts into one giant county-wide system. And that last one, by the way, is favored by Governor Matt Meyer, who really likes its potential for efficiency. But here is the single biggest takeaway, the one thing you can take to the bank no matter which plan gets chosen. That Christina Island, it's going away. For the first time in nearly 50 years, the Christina School District will be completely out of the city of Wilmington. That is the one guaranteed outcome here. Which, of course, brings us to the most important questions of all. What does any of this actually mean for the kids? What about for the families who are going to have to navigate all this change? The most direct, immediate impact is on the roughly 1,600 Wilmington students who are currently enrolled in Christina's schools. They are the first group that will be reassigned to a new district no matter which plan wins out. And this, right here, is the #1 question on every single parent's mind. If my kid is in a school that's changing districts, are they going to be forced to move right away? And the answer, thankfully, is a clear and simple no. This is a long-term project. After the vote happens, there's still a multi-year planning and approval phase. The actual changes for students won't even start to roll out until 2028. Yeah, this really shows how careful and deliberate the process is. The consortium has also been very clear that grandfathering is going to be a key part of the transition. What that means is students will likely be allowed to finish out their time at their current school, say finish middle school, to keep the disruption to a minimum. So what happens after the vote? Well, that's really just the first domino to fall in a whole chain of events that's going to stretch out over the next several years. This timeline gives you a really clear picture. After that December vote, the plan goes to public hearings. Then it goes to the state legislature for a final vote in June of 2026. And only after all of that is approved does that multi-year implementation phase even begin, which could last all the way until 2033.
This entire process really comes down to a core philosophical question. Is it better to have a local, city-focused school district that makes sure Wilmington's voice is front and center? Or is it better to create one massive regional district to get the most administrative efficiency? And there are really strong arguments on both sides.
One analysis of this whole situation really put it perfectly. It said that Wilmington is truly standing at a precipice. The decision that gets made in December won't just redraw a map. It is going to define the very foundation of public education in the city for the next 50 years. And so that's what we're left with. Fixing the lines on a map is a massive and frankly necessary first step. But the ultimate challenge, the real test, is whether this new structure can finally deliver on a long overdue promise of equity for every single student in the city. That's the question this entire process is going to have to answer.